Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Virginia SBDC's webinar series, Google and Beyond, Marketing and Managing on the Web. This series is designed to take a look at tools and techniques to help small businesses take their business to the next level. Today's webinar is Small Business Financial Management on the Web. All of our Google and Beyond webinars are presented by Ray Sidney-Smith of W3 Consulting. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type those into the question window and Ray will do his best to answer them. Without further ado, here's Ray Sidney-Smith.
Thank you, Tracy, and thank you to the Virginia SBDC Network for having me on here for Beyond Google, Marketing and Managing on the Web. Today we're going to be talking about small business financial management on the web. And while sometimes, these things are sort of scary topics, I think this is going to be a really fun one for us because we get to learn a little bit about financial intelligence, and then we get to geek out about some really fantastic web and mobile tools. Well, that is, I get to geek out about some really fantastic web and mobile tools that I think will really help a lot of small businesses out there who I believe can utilize these tools in very quick and easy ways. Some housekeeping tips. One is that if you have any questions, like Tracy said, you can ask us those questions now. So go ahead and just shoot those over in the question panel. If you have questions after, feel free to go ahead and send those questions at W3 Consulting on Twitter and go ahead and hashtag that Beyond Google. The reason I, of course, am forcing you your hand to message me on Twitter is to get you interactive through social media. And so go ahead and try it out. You can go ahead and ask me questions out there. But, of course, I'll be providing my contact information at the end so that you can email me questions if you need to as well. Throughout this webinar, I'll be noting a whole slew of tools. And so just beware that I'm going to give you a link at the end of the slide deck, and it will take you to all of the tools that I'll be mentioning. So don't worry about scrolling down every single one of them. There will be a web page up that's actually already live. There's a web page up that will cover all of these, and I'll give you the link, like I said, at the end. So let's get started with it. Today's agenda is talking about Financial Intelligence 101, why financial intelligence is smart for small business, and we'll talk about the must-have documents in your business. We'll talk about some financial ratios and what financial statement analysis really is, and then we'll talk about how to manage those finances on web and mobile. Okay, so really easy agenda, and let's get into the most sort of difficult, the most pressing topic of small businesses, which is that small businesses tend to not think about their small business finances, and excuse me, and you really need to have these documents at hand, at the ready, so that you can make better decisions. So what is financial intelligence for a small business? Well, financial intelligence for a small business is really being able to understand these three main documents. They're your income statement, which is sometimes known as a profit and loss statement, the balance sheet, and your cash flow statement, okay? So all of these cover various periods of time. And it helps you to understand, the financial intelligence part. The intelligence part is helping you understand in the time you need to understand it, when and how to move your business forward. So in particular cases, like an income statement, a profit and loss statement shows you the profit and loss of that particular company, your company, for a particular period of time. You can have your bookkeeper or accountant, or if your software is sophisticated enough to be able to run those numbers well for you. Remember, good in, good out. So if you're putting good data in bookkeeping-wise and you're keeping that up to date, you're going to be able to get good data out, meaning that you're going to be able to easily render those numbers on the back end. All right. Now, every accountant, bookkeeper, or financial advisor out there should tell you that most of the financial intelligence world understands that there are some assumptions and some sort of gut reaction, estimations that you have to make about your own financial world in order to make these numbers real to you. So the numbers are manipulable, basically, and that doesn't mean that you don't use standards. In the United States, we pretty much use GAAP, the generally accepted accounting principles, and we use those standards to be able to do that. I don't expect you to learn all of GAAP or any of those types of things. The tools we'll talk about today are going to help you to be able to implement them easily, work with your bookkeeper and accountant, and you should have one or both of those, in your business as contractors or as folks that you contract on a regular basis or insource, and so that you can understand these. But really, at the core end, I'm not going to give you an accounting lesson in terms of this as a in-depth, but I want you to understand you should have your income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow statements really available to you and regularly sent to you from your accountant or bookkeeper. Okay, so I can't impress upon you that enough. Your business will be so much more successful if you have those documents on the regular being sent to you. Making it passive is really, really great, and you can outsource that to a service like Fancy Hands, or Fancy Hands is a virtual assistant service, and they're pretty fantastic. I'll actually put a link to them in the show notes. And so Fancy Hands is one, or you can have your bookkeeper do it or whatnot, but it's a really quick and easy, give instructions, tell them how to produce the documents in your software, and then have them email it to you, say every Friday, every fourth Friday, whatever it might be, so that you can really make some good decisions about your business. And one way that you can make some decisions about your business are with what's called ratios, or financial statement analysis. Now, financial statement analysis, the first one I have up on the screen is profitability ratios, and but there are several others. Okay, I'm going to go over some of the profitability ratios, and again, I'm going to blaze through these, so don't even attempt to try and get too much of the detail here, but just understanding their importance in your own business. So profitability ratios are a type of financial statement analysis. Basically, we're looking at your financial statements and we're running some numbers so that we can understand what's going on in the financials of your business. So in this particular case, profitability ratios measure your company's use of its assets and the control of its expenses to get a rate of return. Okay, so this is really important to you because you want to make sure that you are using the assets of your business, especially if you've expended that from your own personal resources, which many small businesses do, and that you want to make sure that you're getting an acceptable rate of return on that investment. So one of those is gross profit margin. You want to make sure that you have an acceptable gross profit margin, and we use the gross profit margin to be able to calculate selling price in our business. So this can actually help you gauge whether or not you need to go ahead and increase or decrease your selling prices or the rates that you're charging in your business. And so you can really think about those. Different industries have different gross profit margins, and so you just have to sort of pay attention to what those are. If you're in the clothing realm, your retail clothing, you probably want to have a 40% mark. If you are in the tech industry, we know that those are 80 to 85% mark. So we know that they can be pretty different. Next up, we're going to talk about return on assets. So ROA is the return on assets, and again, this is just another form of is my income worthwhile for the assets that are sitting on my books, in this case my balance sheet. And remember, all of these are shown in usually percentages or percentage points. So you might hear me say 40%, or you might hear me say 0.8. They would just be 80%. 0.8 of 1 is 80%. And so we look at these and we just sort of determine: am I getting good return on assets? Are my assets producing for me what I really need to from the balance sheet? Again, we are looking at this from a perspective of what is happening in the business, what's being done to change those things. And remember, some of these push and pull. So from a return on equity perspective, which we have up on screen now, if I have quite a substantial amount of owner's equity, that might actually be helping or hurting my business in another ratio. So it's just a matter of understanding the various ones. Again, I'm not trying to give you any kind of huge financial statement analysis education, but you should really understand that these are really important to learn about and get invested in your business. In the description of this is the return on sales, and this is earnings before interest and taxes. In the description of the webinar, there was actually a link to a book called Financial Intelligence Revised, and that's a book by John Case and Karen Berman, who's deceased. But Karen Berman and John Case, they put together a book called Financial Intelligence Revised, and it's really a fantastic book to help you understand how to read and sort of learn this kind of financial intelligence, so that you know what EBIT is and what EBITDA is, which is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, oh, even I am losing it now. What's EBITDA? It's amortization. I'm sorry. So it's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. So EBIT is different than EBITDA, and you just sort of learn what all of these really mean as it relates to the business's operations. And then you start to get a good idea that, okay, well, if our EBIT is X, then we need to do Y in the next quarter. And that makes our sales team understand what needs to happen, and it helps our customer service team knows what to happen. And so it just really, really helps in a lot of different ways. Like I said, that's profitability ratios. Operating, liquidity, and leverage ratios are also the other three of the four sort of primary small business ratios that are out there. And just so you have an idea, the liquidity ratios, of course, the operating ratios are what and how the business's assets are being utilized. The liquidity ratios are how much cash do I have to pay debts, basically. Can I liquidate the business very, very quickly? Leverage is the ability to leverage the company in terms of loans or other kinds of things, like if you have stock holdings, those kinds of things. So if you want to be able to leverage the assets of this. There's a really great tool out there. One of the first things that I put a link up for is at ultimatecalculators.com. They have this really great financial statement analysis tool. So what you do is you can, have your assistant, virtual assistant, bookkeeper, whomever, run over to this document if you have a more manual bookkeeping system, and you just plug in the numbers. So you can basically plug in the numbers, and this actually only works for current versus previous year. So if you're looking at this for only year-to-year statement analysis, then that's fine. If you want to do it on a more, a more granular level, you want to do it by quarter, seeing one quarter against another, you'll probably have to just do the, set up an Excel spreadsheet or something like that and do the manual calculations. Maybe one of these days I'll set up a spreadsheet and put it up as a template. But anyway, no promises. But here we go. We have this financial statement analysis calculator, and we can go ahead and just plug in, our numbers. So we put 100,000 there, 120,000 there, and you can see that it does all the various calculations. And so once you're done, you can then hop on over to the ratio analysis and tab right here, and you can see that it will go ahead and calculate all of your ratios. I'm not going to waste the time of going through this for you, but then you can see a very basic understanding of this. And there are lots of resources online about this, so please utilize them. Go out there and look up each of the ratios, what liquidity ratio means in your industry and how that works for you, so that you're able to make those better decisions as you move on. Okay, so those are the ratios. That's financial statement analysis. I really just wanted to talk about it so that people who are aware that it even existed, and so don't expect that that was anything in depth. I literally just wanted to cover what those were and that they are out there. Go check them out. Okay. So now it's all about where and how we can really use web and mobile technology to help us in our own businesses. And I really wanted to start out with discussing how we can really work with our financial institutions to really kickstart our use of web and mobile technology as small business. Most of the time, we tend to think, let's go to Google and look for that tool that's going to help make our business great. Well, I'll go through some of those today. The reality is that you should really start with your bank. Your bank has the data about you and what's happening in your business finances, most likely. And so therefore, you would likely go to them first for a lot of the different kinds of information and tools that they might have. So if they have them, I say use them. So start with your bank. The first thing that a lot of people have that they don't realize is that they have a tool. It comes under different names, online bill pay or other kinds of things like that. But basically, it's the ability to be able to make payments, whether they be e-checks or actually issuing checks directly from your bank from an online interface. So what this means is that I can go into my bank's website, go to their website, log in. I can set up a series of vendors that I pay on a regular basis, and I can then add their contact information so that I can issue a check to them. I don't have to keep a stock of check in my office anymore. I don't have to keep, I don't have to sign any checks. It's all done by the bank, and most of the time it's, if not really inexpensive, it's sometimes free. I know for my personal banking purposes it's free, and I know that for my primary checking account for the business it's free currently. So it's really fantastic. I can just set it and forget it. And so if I have to regularly pay my landlord rent, well, there goes a check that's set up in the system, and now the online payment system issues that check on a regular basis. You can tell it, I want to pay, this lease amount for the next 12 months or whatever it might be, so that it just goes out and it'll notify you, we've sent out this check for you. And now you don't have to do that. You don't have to worry about that being done. It's just done. You can set that in your accounting ledger and your bookkeeping so that you know that those 12 checks are going to go out on those dates. And now you've aggregated that time to be efficient, and the bank will take over for you. So think about online bill pay. It's a really fantastic service that banks are providing. It cuts down on so many different problems, from fraud to the security issues of losing checks. So many people lose checks and then they don't have them, or having stocks of checks hanging around the office where employees can pilfer them, or you just lose them, or they get damaged and you have to buy new ones. So and the security on these are becoming more sophisticated every day, and so having to get new stock of checks just so that you're staying ahead of those things can be somewhat burdensome. So online bill pay can be absolutely fantastic, and so check that out. Next up is the mobile check deposit. And mobile check deposit is how you can basically deposit a check. A client walks up to you and says, here you go, here goes X dollars for services or a product. And of course, that's cash being held on a paper, a negotiable instrument. And you want to be able to go ahead and get that cash rendered as soon as possible. And mobile check deposit is one way you can do that. So you have your smartphone, or whatever mobile device you have. It could be an iPad or Google tablet or whatever it might be. And now you can go ahead and open up your bank's app. And again, sometimes these are free, sometimes they have a small fee associated with them. And now you can go ahead and it takes a picture of the front and back of the check. You endorse the check, front and back, you take a picture, you put in a dollar amount, and voila, the image of the check gets put up to the bank. You're required to hold on to that paper check for some period of time, usually 90 days, I think, and then the amount usually gets cleared through the bank in a couple of days. I know that my bank goes ahead and clears that within 24 hours, so the following business day it becomes available. And I think the first X number of dollars is available immediately, which is important for some businesses, and then the following day the full amount goes ahead and clears. So that can be really, really powerful for you. If you're a sole proprietor and you receive checks to your name, then make sure you understand the Check 21 laws, because that means the money should be cleared even faster than that. So mobile check deposit can be really, really a great way for small businesses to utilize that. So if you don't use the mobile check deposit, your bank, almost every bank today, even the small credit unions that are part of the National Federal Credit Union, all use a centralized app. So you should have, if you're using a standard bank, you will likely have a mobile check deposit functionality within their smartphone app. So check it out. Next up is getting all of your documentation in one place. So one thing that I frequently find about businesses that I'm working with is when I ask them for their numbers, they one, are typically shy about showing numbers because they want it to be in the best light, but also that they don't actually know where those numbers are. And just like financial statement analysis, it's really important for you to know where the data came from. Again, like I said, good data in and good data out, and the inverse applies. So you really need to figure out, where are my statements, and how can I easily share those with the most important people that are stakeholders, or in this case, vendors, your bookkeepers, accountants, and the consultants that you hire that need access to this information so that they can help you understand how to run your business better. And so first, go ahead and find your statements. You should have separate banking accounts for your business. It's a good idea generally. And you need to also go ahead and get those documents in a place where you can share them. I recommend a couple of different storage solutions, and I'm going to show you a couple because I think these are really great tools and they help you securely go ahead and share them. So the first tool that we have, hold on one second, is a tool called Manila. Manila should be up on screen right now, and it really helps you securely manage really a whole bunch of different kinds of financial stuff. But it really, in essence, allows you to be able to have one login to all your bank accounts, and not really just all your bank accounts. I mean, it covers things from your car rentals services to your, other kinds of discount programs, membership programs, your Netflix account, whatever it might be. And so it gets that all into the same place. It helps with automated reminders so that it can remind you about when bills are coming due so that you don't get late fees and such. And it also pulls your bills and statements directly into your account into a secure place so that you then can go ahead and share those. In this particular case, it allows you to be able to share that with friends and family, of course, because it's promoting itself primarily as a consumer product, but really it has high-class security, so it's very good security, and it's going to also allow you to be able to share that with a bookkeeper or accountant assistant so that they have access to that information without having direct access to the actual accounts. So this acts as an intermediary because all it's doing is pulling the statements. It can't actually do anything on your behalf. So it's a really great way to be able to collaborate with people so that you can manage bills and payments and accounts and so on and so forth without the lack of security of being able to access those things. So Manila is one that I really enjoy. Next up is one called Personal. And Personal is this additional tool. And so very similar to Manila, it allows you to be able to have a vault. And in the vault, you can go ahead and store all kinds of things. In this case, they allow you to hold legal documents. And so I have a personal account. And in Personal, I keep a copy of my will, a copy of my power of attorney, my healthcare directive, a couple of trusts that I have. And those are all shared with my brother, who's out in Phoenix, Arizona. And because he wouldn't obviously have immediate access to the physical documents that I keep here, I'm going to then be able to, he has access to that, and so if something were to happen to me, God forbid, I would then be able to, he would then be able to access those documents immediately and start the process of helping. But as well, he also has access to certain parts of my financial life, so he knows that he can go ahead and access from the vault those pieces of information when the time comes that he'll need to. It's not an if but when proposition that something will happen and I will eventually have to relinquish some kind of control unless I die suddenly. I hope to grow old and slowly lose faculties. So I hope that someday that I have wonderful family around me like my brother to be able to help with some of those things. And so having this kind of digital vault can be really, really helpful, not just for you personally, but also then for your business, because your business is very closely tied to your own personal finances. And so maybe you have a Manila account for your business and you have a personal account for your personal financial life, and keeping them separate. And I'll talk about that shortly with another product as well that I use. So it gives you this really great ability to go ahead and control the data. Again, you can have all of your bank and other kinds of passwords in your personal account, and then that way you can share them securely with certain people in your life, the most trusted people in your life, so that you can take care of all of those things. So Personal, great tool, personal.com. And last but not least is this tool. It's called File This. So you can filethis.com, and like I said, all of these links are in the show notes, so don't frantically worry about taking down domain names or anything else like that. But this one is really great because what it does is very similar to Manila, except a little different, is that it goes ahead and retrieves your bank statements, so your credit card statements, your bank statements, whatever they might be, and it does something a little bit cooler, which is it allows you to go ahead and push those out to other locations. So say that I want to go ahead and grab one of my bills or statements from my Amazon.com account. Well, it can go ahead and do that, but then it gives me the ability to go ahead and upload it directly to one of these services. So I can automate it to personal, as I just talked about that program before, Dropbox, Evernote, Google Drive, Box, and of course you can download it to localized desktop as well. So really, really great to be able to just automate that. So as soon as my statement's available in my bank, it gets dragged out of that account and pushed into my business's Google Drive account. And so now that's in the appropriate folder in my Google Drive. And just so you have a note about Google Drive, so File This creates a folder on your system, and so it shows up, and you can actually just drag and move that, and it does not change the File This's understanding of things. So you can just move the folder wherever you want to. So I have a financial folder for the business, and in my Google Apps Google Drive account, I just throw the File This folder into the financial account. I share that File This folder now, the financials folder at the top level, with my accountant and bookkeeper and my assistant, and now voila. Do I ever have to remind myself about when to hand over the statements for the year for tax season? Nope, I haven't even thought about tax season this year because all of that was just done. All of it was just done by my accountants because they've had access to it. They could on December 31st note what was closed out, and on January 1 start the process of preparing for the tax filings and getting tax filings out to people, the requisite documents to go out, and as well then waiting for final statements to come in, and now they have all the data and access to that information from me. So I really didn't have to do anything, which as a productivity geek, I adore. So File This is fantastic for that. Check it out. It doesn't have, the one caveat is it doesn't have every business in there, I mean every bank or financial institution, but you can actually request from them for you to do it. So if you don't see in their connections areas a bank, then you can go ahead and request it from them, and they are pretty good about trying to get those banks into the system because it behooves them to go ahead and do that. Okay, so that's all about getting yourself started with getting all of your documents and statements into one place, and that way you can share them among your financial partners as well as your vendors, your internal staff that need access to it, your accountants and bookkeepers, okay? Now we're going to talk about really managing the finances of the business, and we're going to talk about it from the sort of big ticket areas of your business, which is time tracking and invoicing and all of that other fun stuff, accounting at the highest level, billing. We're going to talk about online payments because it's a huge topic, and we'll talk about various tools about that, and then we'll go on and continue on down the track in terms of managing some of the financial statement analysis that I talked about before, some of the financial analysis, without having to really do much. Okay, so those are some tools that help you pay some information and tell you what's going on without you having to really get into the nitty-gritty of it. So for time tracking, invoicing, bookkeeping, all the accounting umbrella kind of things, I'm going to talk about these 6 products: Wave, Less Accounting, QuickBooks Online, FreshBooks, which is a fantastic tool as well, GetHarvest, which is for time tracking and invoicing, and OneReceipt, which is one of my favorite products. So we're going to go ahead and hop over to each of the websites, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of overview of each of those so that you have an understanding of what they are and how they work. So Wave is a fairly new player in the market. They've only been in business for a couple of years. However, they've taken the world by storm. The way they've taken the world by storm is because they're primarily free. So you really can't beat the price. So it's a full accounting suite in the sense that it can handle most kinds of small business accounting practices. You basically go to the website, you click on the Get Wave up here in the top right-hand corner, or you just go to any one of the pages and they'll have a sign-up screen for you to get started. But they have a couple of apps underneath it. They have accounting, invoicing, payments, payroll, personal accounting, and receipts. So they sort of have this personal Wave tool as well, but I'm not going to talk about that today. The accounting is the primary tool that's out there that's free. I think the other ones have small fees associated with them. Since you're receiving money in invoicing or in payments or payroll, then you have to pay for those services. So accounting is a pretty great tool. Just about the accounting tool itself for Wave, it's really important for you to be able to set this up correctly. There are a series of YouTube videos all about how to properly set up the Wave accounting so that you know how to set up your chart of accounts in the system. It does a lot of automated stuff that, as an accounting person, someone who's a numbers person may not like, but as a small business person who needs to get stuff done, this is a fantastic tool for being able to help give you that easy upswing, get data in there, and again, as long as you put the data in consistently and well, you will do well with Wave. So check it out. It's a great tool, and if you set it up correctly from the beginning, choosing the right type of business, making sure that your chart of accounts is set up, making sure that you would connect the right accounts and connect your payment portals, however you're going to do them, then you'll be right as rain. Okay, so Wave is a fantastic application. Check it out. Next up is less accounting. So less accounting, I forget what its genesis was, but it came out of the sort of beta stage when it was first launched, and it's supposed to just really make accounting simple and easy. It connects to all the major payment portals. It's very, very like I said, it's supposed to be easy, and they really make it very simple for you to be able to get it started. They claim that it takes only 5 minutes to set up and to start making the workflows happen, but it handles all of those parts. You can send invoices, you can categorize expenses, and you can produce those reports like the financial statements that I was talking about earlier at the beginning. You can go ahead and produce those financial statements, and you can go ahead and have those registered very, very quickly and easily. And you can go ahead and access people who can assist you with these things. So there are support folks that can help you. That's the same with Wave, actually. There are Wave accounting pros who you can hire through Wave, who will go ahead and assist you and guide you through these products. So you can go ahead and do that. If you want to transition from QuickBooks, you can do that very easily. They connect to all the banks that they connect to drag in your transactions, and you can also have a connection to your accountant so that your accountant can access the tool without you having to really package data up and send it to them. They could just basically log into Less Accounting and do that. That brings us to the granddaddy of all accounting tools, which is Intuit's QuickBooks products. And the one that I'm talking about today is the QuickBooks Online product. And QuickBooks Online is this really inexpensive. It starts out at $13 a month, really inexpensive. And it gives you really a premier product to be able to work and handle your business finances. And so QuickBooks Online goes ahead and gives you, a login. You sign in from the QuickBooks Online page, the page that we're at right now, actually. And you go ahead and sign in, and you immediately have access to all of your financial tools, and your accountant can access it for free. There is a huge community of QuickBooks pros, professionals, advisors, all of those people to help train and educate you and support you in making sure that your business finances are in right order. And just because it's so popular and it's been around for so long, it's really well, it's really well supported. So you're not going to have much of a problem there. It also talks about only setting up in minutes. I challenge that. I think that with any accounting software, it's going to take you several hours to make sure that everything's set up, your chart of accounts is set up correctly, and that you've talked to your accountant and bookkeeper about those things, and that you have a good, clear understanding of how to get good information in so you can get the good data out so you can make good business decisions for your business. So minutes maybe to sign up, but in terms of actual time to make sure this is set up properly for you, that's another question. So you can see that it allows you to be able to have these need attention sort of notices in QuickBooks Online, which I really like. So it tells you when an invoice goes overdue. it gives you alerts about when you need to do certain types of tax filings and those kinds of things if you have those features activated. So it can be really, really cool and easy. You can add new staff. You can take staff off from a centralized place. You can make your invoices snazzy by adding your logo and using your own typefaces and doing backgrounds and so on and so forth. And they're auto-generated, and you can do some really, really cool stuff with getting those invoices paid online through the payments portal. And Intuit, of course, connects to its GoPayment product, which is an attachment and application on your smartphone. And so, excuse me, when you go ahead and you're out in a festival or an exhibit booth, or you're at your retail shop and you want to get rid of your point-of-sale system, you can actually just have the GoPayment app on your iPad or another tablet, an Android tablet or something like that, that's affixed to your counter, and you can just swipe credit cards right from the app with a little attachment, and you can go ahead and take those payments directly in. It's one system. Your point of sale then feeds into QuickBooks. It can really streamline the process, and data entry errors go away, and import-export problems don't happen. So it's, again, like I said, QuickBooks has just been around a long time, and so it can reduce a lot of those problems that interactivity and interoperability can create with using many different products. Not that I'm against it. I just, taking the good with the bad, right? So we have also the ability for you to go ahead and attach photos to all of your expenses. So you could take a picture directly in the mobile app for QuickBooks Online, and then it basically connects it to that expense, so you can actually see the actual paper receipt right along with the expense. That can be very, very handy for your accountant if they're trying to verify things, and it also is one of those sort of audit-proofing perspective tactics. So if you have an audit, you would be able to very quickly render that data to an auditor, and there wouldn't be really a problem for them to be able to look at that and verify, and so on and so forth. It also synchronizes data across many different accounts, so that's really helpful. And I have used QuickBooks for a long time with one of my businesses, and I really enjoy the ability for it to pull in the data from the olden days when it used to not, and all of the struggles that you would go through to try and get the data correctly entered into QuickBooks is now such a thing of the past. I mean, I remember fighting and fighting and fighting with QuickBooks many, many years ago to get data in, mostly because the banks produced export files that were not compatible, so I don't really know what they were thinking. Okay, so you could do all sorts of really wonderful stuff with QuickBooks Online, and again, it does a great job with collaborating with your accountants as well, because they give the QuickBooks Online feature free to accountants so that they can help their clients. So that's a whole other benefit. Okay, next up is a tool called FreshBooks. FreshBooks is a huge tool with a whole bunch of add-ons, but its primary function is the ability to go ahead and do invoicing. So you have statements and invoices, and then you can handle all of your accounting from that perspective. You can handle billing and expenses and so on and so forth. I really haven't used it for that purpose, but it can do it. So it can handle expenses, it can handle income. Primarily a really, really great tool for being able to track your time and being able to invoice against that time. And then the fantastic part is just it follows up with your clients. Say you set a 30-day or net 30, net 45-day turnaround on your invoices. Well, you can go ahead and set it up to do the automated reminders. And so it does all of that functionality for you. You can connect it to your payment portal so that clients can see your PDF of your invoice, click on a link, be taken to a website, log in, pay for your services or products, and then you automatically get the FreshBooks updated. You get the payment in your payment portal, and you are good to go. FreshBooks is amazing. It comes with a bunch of add-ons, like I said. So here in the FreshBooks community, you can have all kinds of different, it's innumerable. So from CRM stuff to connecting to Google to electronic signatures and e-commerce, it just has a lot of really great functionality that you can add on to it because it's been around a while. Like QuickBooks, it has this great community of developers that have really supported putting these tools together so that you can extend the abilities of FreshBooks in lots of ways. Okay, so GetHarvest. Harvest is a time tracking tool for invoicing and taking expenses. It's a pretty seamless, easy tool. So like FreshBooks, it has all of those, the functionality for taking payments, invoicing, taking payments, and expenses. It also has an add-ons community, and so you can have these additional tools added on as well. Clearly not as extensive as FreshBooks, I would argue, but clearly they have a more pretty page. Their page is actually quite nice. So their add-ons page, you can see here, you have lots of different functionality that you can add into the tool. Well, maybe I'm stand corrected. Maybe they do have just as many as FreshBooks does. Maybe not. I don't think so, actually. But either way, so you can see all of the various options there, and so you can check out Harvest at getharvest.com. Really, really great tool, and I've used it in the past as well, and I can vouch for it. It's actually really great. I love the tracking tools that you just have on your desktop, on your phone. So just like FreshBooks, you can have your mobile phone. You're doing work with your client on site, you can just track time right on your phone, and then it synchronizes back to it. There's all of the various functions to capture them from your desktop as well. So, great tool. Okay, and so the last one up on the time tracking, invoicing, and bookkeeping side is OneReceipt. OneReceipt is one of two receipt tools that I use, and this is by far the best one out there. OneReceipt basically takes all of your receipts and allows you to be able to categorize them. But the really cool part is that it actually pulls the data from the image of the picture that you took. So if you go ahead and you go to a restaurant and you take a client out for dinner, you go ahead and snap a picture of that receipt, and it knows how to read the data on the receipt, and it just extracts it and pulls it in. You can go ahead and correct it if necessary, recategorize it if it doesn't automatically guess that it was a restaurant and therefore a meals and entertainment kind of invoice on your chart of accounts. Excuse me. And you're off and running. Save it into the account, and now again you can go ahead and securely share that information with your accountant, and now you have all of those receipts tracked, and you can really just stay organized when it comes to tax time and when it comes time to really, again, going back and looking at what's being spent, how are we going to make our business better. OneReceipt is a fantastic tool to manage all of that paper side of things. So it also does digital, so it can also pull in your digital receipts from places that you wouldn't otherwise think. And just as a side note, Google does a really great job of being able to track a lot of the information in your, if you use Google Apps or Gmail, it has a really great ability to go ahead and track a lot of that information inside your email inbox. So if you get a flight itinerary or something else like that, and you activate Google Now, and I don't have time to talk about this today, but you can Google it, Google Now, and you'll learn all about how Google Now can really help you within the Google search app. And it's coming out, it's scaling out onto Google Chrome, the browser, and it's on your iPhone, it's on your Android, if you have the Google search app on your iPhone, that is, and it's on your Google Android phones, and it's a fantastic assistant. It's really superior to Siri in so many ways because it can just read all of these data, and one of those pieces of data is the receipts in your inbox. So go ahead and check it out, and really, really fantastic. Okay, so next up we are going to move along to online payments. And just jumping out to the slide here so you can see, we are going to be talking about 6 different online payment portals and really the ups and downs of some of them. So, you know, they're all really interesting and they all have great functionality with them. And so we're just going to breeze through them because there's really not much to talk about. They are all pretty comparable when you look at them at the outset, but some of them are actually, you know, they shift in fees when you go about that. I'm not going to talk about that, but you just pay attention to the fact that you should compare all of these against what the fees are, but as well looking at the feature set as to why you would be using one or the other or none of them at all, depending upon your situation. All right, so let's hop out to the browser and look at the first one. Again, this is if QuickBooks is the granddaddy of accounting, you know, PayPal, of course, is the grandmother of online payments. And so they've really built an empire around being able to take payments online from businesses, from customers for businesses, and they have a whole slew of different ways in which you could do that. So PayPal has the ability for you to add e-commerce to your website so that you can go ahead and take information in, and from there you can go ahead and have your a mobile app on your phone to be able to swipe credit cards. You can transact mobile payments to and from. You can invoice from your mobile app and from the PayPal interface. You can have all of that data then, of course, driven into your accounting software. So again, going back to the financial management aspect of this, we really want to be able to take this data that's in PayPal and push it out there. So PayPal has their own tools for being able to sort of show you some of the really cool data that it can show you, but it also allows you to be able to really get that data out of the system and into your financial accounting software. And so it has these really cool tools. One is a Bill Me Later product that it has, which allows you to be able to do financing for your customers. So your customers go ahead, you get paid up front, and they get qualified to be able to basically finance products that they're buying or services that they're buying from you. So Bill Me Later is a fantastic tool built within PayPal that I think you should definitely look out for, because if you can tell clients, heck, you can go get financing. I'm not a bank, but you can go get financing, and yet you as a business can still get paid up front. You are going to go ahead and increase your sales and really drive from that perspective, drive from a point of being just like any other larger competitor in the market. So you can really do, as a small business, you can have large-scale services like offering customer financing. And PayPal also has the business loan tool. It calls PayPal Working Capital, and it also does merchant processing, so it can handle the entire custom checkout experience for folks on your website. So they can integrate very highly, and they can really help you in that regard. So from a lot of ways, PayPal does a lot of those functionalities well individually. There's lots of criticism about the way in which they handle that as an integrated function, but individually they do it really well. So check out PayPal and see what they have to offer. Next up is Google Wallet, fairly new player in the market. They are primarily for mobile payments, so it allows you to be able to go out there and make payments from your phone. If you have the most recent iPhone and any of the Androids basically going back about a year and a half or 2 years ago now, you have a little chip that's embedded in your phone that allows you to be able to connect to a tool like Google Wallet, not just Google Wallet, but lots of different tools, and that allows you to be able to leave your real wallet at home, and you can connect all of your credit cards or debit cards or whatever cards. You can actually load money directly in it other ways as well. But now you have this as a consumer and as well as a business owner. You can have your your money shielded by this Google Wallet tool, which has all of the security and protections of Google, right? And so you can go ahead and buy on websites that accept Google. You can add the Google Wallet to your own website so that you can accept Google Wallet as well from clients. And the really cool part is, for me, there's the connection to the offers. So you can go ahead and connect your wallet to Google Offers so that you can offer discounts to certain clients and certain visitors to certain pages on your website, and really make it a sophisticated e-commerce solution for a first-time visitor versus someone who's a repeat visitor. And they also have a credit card, it's a debit card, that's associated with your Google Wallet. So in my wallet now, my real physical wallet, I have a Google Wallet card. It's a MasterCard, and it's connected to my Google Wallet account, which is shielding all of the various cards that are behind it. So very similar to taking money out at an ATM, you basically go to whichever card you want to be able to load money from your Google Wallet. You fund your Google Wallet balance, and then you go ahead and you can shop out there in the real world where people might not have the touchless payment tools like Google Wallet or otherwise. So now you can just swipe your credit card and go on with your day, and you have access to this card. And now you can have 6 or 7 credit cards turned into one because you have your Google Wallet card there to be able to activate it. And if you have to shuffle money around, put more money on or whatever it might be, you just log into the Google Wallet app and move that money over from whichever account you want it to go from. So really fantastic for a lot of reasons, but you might want to decide not to expose your real credit card number to the world. You could just expose your Google Wallet number to online repeating payment things or whatever that might be, so that your real bank account's credit card or debit card number is not exposed. So Google Wallet can be useful as a security intermediary. Next up is Braintree. I'm not going to talk much about Braintree other than to say that they're a payment portal like PayPal or Amazon Payments that I'm about to talk about. They're really for more sophisticated developer types, but there are several websites out there who might be using them for apps that you're developing or e-commerce sites that you're developing. So if you're a small business that's thinking about doing and accepting payments inside of an app or a website as an e-commerce tool, and you want more of a developer side to it, Braintree and another product called Stripe are the ones that you would want to check out. So Braintree or Stripe for the more developer techie folks. Amazon Payments. Amazon Payments is, again, just like all the other ones, except that it's Amazon. And so Amazon Payments, as it says right here on its main page, it makes Amazon customers your customers. So similar to the way that Google Wallet, which is still sort of burgeoning, it doesn't have the same force and effect as saying Amazon. You know, Amazon's the largest retailer, online. You basically, if someone has an Amazon account, who doesn't have an Amazon account these days, and you go in and you could just basically pay with Amazon. So if you have your account already set up with Amazon and you pay for your e-books and you pay for books and you buy certain things on Amazon as gifts and for yourself, well, now if you set that up on your own small business website, people just like you can go ahead and just click on Pay with Amazon and away they go. So it's a really quick and easy way for you to be able to not have to force people to use a different payment portal or a different interface that they may not know or be comfortable with. My whole thing is I would like all of the options. If I were coming to your website, I'd want to see at least 2 or 3 options up there, because maybe I have an Amazon account, but I really have my money in my Google Wallet account, and so I really want to pay with that. Or I might want to pay with PayPal because that's where I have money in that account. So you really don't know where the money is going to be coming from your clients. So giving them different options can be great. Even though all of them take credit cards, in essence, you can put in a normal debit or credit card. It's just nicer knowing that you don't have to type a credit card necessarily into a website for security purposes. So if I'm just using my authentication with Amazon, it feels safer. Next up is Recurly. Recurly is really great for recurring billing. So that's pretty much it. If you want to do recurring billing, its setup is really simple and easy. And once you do set it up, the clients that I've used it with absolutely love it. And for me, for subscription style stuff, work I'm doing every month for a client on a regular basis, when they lapse in payment or when they, when a credit card, expires or those kinds of things, it knows how to just, gently and easily prompt the person about fixing those things. So it can be a really great tool to just handle all that billing management stuff that you really don't want to have to deal with. So Recurly is great, and it keeps that distance between you and your client, because you don't want to have all of those numbers conversations sometimes when you're really just trying to get the work done. So Recurly can take over that part for you and really save the day. ChargeDefi is another one of those. It's a competitor to Recurly, and it does recurring billing. So I really can't say much more about it than that. It just basically does the recurring billing. It goes beyond just subscription-based services. So if you think about it outside of that perspective, it has a couple of other different features to it that are pretty interesting. And so just check out ChargeDefi. It does all kinds of cash flow analysis and other kinds of tools so that you can go in there and check it out. Okay, so that's ChargeDefi. Next up, we're going to talk about some of the financial analysis, but on a more automated basis. Okay, so I'm going to talk about 4 different products. One is GoDaddy's product, formerly called Outright, but it's now GoDaddy Online Bookkeeping. We're going to talk about Personal Capital, Mint, and then DeNiro. And all of them are basically tools that you plug your financial institution and other accounts into, and then it takes over. It goes ahead and starts running the numbers and helping you slice and dice the data in charts and other kinds of visual analysis so that you can see the numbers quickly and easily and start to make some better business decisions. All right, so let's look at it and hop over here very quickly. Okay, so personal capital. I really like personal capital, and as I said earlier in the space about using maybe Manila for business and then using personal for personal stuff, the same thing really applies with this. So personal capital is really a competitor to Mint, which is owned by Intuit. So Intuit owns Mint, and personal capital is by itself. Both tools are basically you plug in your information and it starts to tell you things. You can see your net worth, your cash flow. It can tell you whether or not you're making good stock investments. And you are also, seeing all of that information pushed together so that you know how much cash you have on hand. You can see what's, some budgeting, so you can see what the projections are for things. And Mint does it a little bit differently because it helps you set up your own budget, and then it pings you whenever you might go over or be nearing limits and so on and so forth. So I really like personal capital for business, and I like Mint on the personal side. There's another tool called futureadvisor.com, and I'll actually add those to the show notes also. But futureadvisor.com is a new challenger to these two products and several other products that are out there, but really primarily challenging Mint. But futureadvisor.com is a great tool in that way as well. So it's a free way to look at your finances. And in this particular case, you can plug in your, like I said, you can plug in your business stuff into personal capital. You can plug in your personal stuff into Mint, and then that way you can manage your business finances on both of those levels and see the information quickly and easily. So check out personal capital and Mint. GoDaddy, their online bookkeeping tool, is outright, and what it does is it primarily tracks things on behalf of really a sales perspective, and then helping you understand your tax time bookkeeping. So I really like outright because it just shoots you a little email once a week, and it says to you, hey, you have you have X amount of sales this week. It's X amount or percentage above last week, and some basic data. You can log into the system and see more sophisticated stuff. You could pay for the service at the more sophisticated level. I don't really have a need for that because I have all the tools beyond that to do that right now, but you can have it help you simplify all your invoicing and bookkeeping and so on and so forth for producing that. So if you're a freelancer, a solopreneur, and you want to make sure that you can just get these things done quickly and easily, this product is really pretty solid, so check it out. And last but not least is this product called DeNiro. And DeNiro is a full solution for businesses. It sort of came out of the woodworks when I was doing research some time ago, and it actually is a pretty phenomenal product, but it does a lot of the things that I talked about in terms of all of the other products I talked about, but really in a one-stop shop solution. So it handles really all of your accounting, it files tax returns, and it manages payroll, and it does all of those things without you having to really go into 4 or 5 different tools to make that happen. I mean, even the most sophisticated tools that I talked about before, like with QuickBooks and less accounting and so on and so forth, you don't get as much granular detail as DeNiro seems to be able to do, and at the same time being able to make it easy and simple and just handle everything that you needed to do. So DeNiro really looks promising. I think that between it and Xero Accounting, which is pronounced Zero, but it's Xero, is a competitor to Wave. I think all of those are really fantastic fun tools that you should look into and check out. But it does a fantastic job. The reason I put it under financial analysis is because its reporting functionality is really, really powerful. So check out DeNiro just for its reporting functionality, and I think it could be really, really fantastic. And then just closing out, I know we're up at the top of the hour, so building your business credit is really important. You should go ahead and make sure that you have a credit file with Dun & Bradstreet. So if you just go to DNB, the letters DNB.com, you can go ahead and check that out. Again, I'll put a link to that in the show notes. And those are the show notes. If you go to this link, you'll be able to get the link to it. It's w.w3cinc.com/Beyond Google Money, and all of the links that I talked about today will be there. I'll hand this over to Tracy.
Thanks, Ray. Well, we wait and see if we have any questions. Since we don't have any right now, I'm going to go ahead and close out the webinar, but if you do have any last-minute questions, please feel free to type those into the question box. Thank you, everyone, for participating today. Today's webinar was recorded and will be posted on the Virginia SBDC website under live webinars and recordings. Tomorrow, you'll receive a follow-up email on the webinar with an evaluation link in it. Please help us to continue to improve our training by taking the time to complete the evaluation. If you would like to complete the evaluation now, I did post that in the chat window, so you can go ahead and click on that. And since we don't seem to have any questions, I hope to see everybody on April 17th for advertising on the web on a small business budget. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ray.